Cheryl, take it away.
All right, well, welcome again to Grace Harbor Youth Works Career Connected Learning Zoom series, and we're very excited today to do today's series on government and politics. And our guest speakers today is Lena, who actually was an ex-program coordinator of ours about 2 programmers ago. So thank you again for all your work you did for Grace Harbor Youth Works at that time. And now that you're actually pursuing working in government, and I want to read your bio really quick. Like, you're a legislative specialist for the Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority. You support the External Affairs Manager and Greater Public Affairs team by tracking relevant legislative and political activity and helping to build meaningful partnerships to further the authority's mission. You graduated from Santa Clara University, where you double majored in psychology and studio art and minored in environmental studies. Your experience in the nonprofit social services realm, where you focused on affordable housing and homelessness prevention, helped spark her passion for seeking equitable solutions to the Bay Area's most pressing social and environmental issues. You are also currently serve on the board member for the Santa Clara County League of Conservative Voters, and in your spare time, you like hiking, painting, and petting any dog within reach. Yay.
And I'll add one thing, conservation voters.
Oh, conservation, sorry about that.
Easy thing to mix up.
I always make a few mistakes if I don't kill it. So I am still human, right? And then for here in Grace Harbor County, I'd like to welcome Kym Foster, who is our county clerk. And Kym actually had to be voted in for her position. And this is really amazing when I read her bio. You were a WSU nutritional educator at the Grace Harbor Extension Office, teaching K through 6th grade. In 2009 to 2018, you were a substitute teacher for the Elma School District. In 2000 to 2009, you also became a mom to twins, and I don't want to butcher their names, I'll let you say them. And in 1999 to 04, you were a dialysis technician and diabetes educator. And then you were 1992 to 99, you were a nanny and attended the Weston CT Fire Academy and became a firefighter EMT. In February of 2015, you came into the clerk's office, and you didn't feel that you were treated in a very positive way. And that's when that fueled your fire to become the clerk and change the way residents of Grace Harbor receive services. You don't have any prior experience, but you sure are learning fast. So we want to thank you both for being on with us today. And Felicia Mullins is our program coordinator and the leader of our Zoom series. So go ahead, Felicia.
Thank you, Cheryl. What impressive bios we have from 2 great guests that are going to join us and tell us about what they do. I just want to give everyone an overview of our career cluster today. Today we are learning about careers in government and public administration. And basically that's where workers help to pass and enforce law, regulations. You could work in national, state, or local government. You will find almost every type of occupation within the government, including some jobs that are only found within the government. For example, you might inspect new or remodeled buildings for safety. You might help people file paperwork for a marriage license or maybe their vehicle license. Or you might create proposals for urban development. There's so many awesome pathways, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can see some of the great careers in the arena of government and public administration. All right, can everyone see this? It should say career search results. Excellent. I think someone has their phone off mute. Can you please mute your audio, please? Thank you. So there are 19 careers in this particular list that are found within government and public administration. As you can see, there's agricultural inspectors, legislators, financial examiners, but there are other career pathways as well. There's foreign service, and those are people who are involved in the operations of United States embassies, political and economic analysis, or helping Americans abroad. Hey, you might be interested in working for a consulate or working for a diplomat. Foreign service will definitely take you all over the world, as America does trade with most countries in this world. National security is a huge aspect of government and public administration. This includes protecting our institutions and our systems against physical or cyber attack. And a lot of those positions are definitely military positions. There's also public management and administration, and that's where we really are getting into what Lena and Kym do. So we are going to begin with Lena and have her tell us a little bit about herself and the work that she does. And Lena, take it away. Welcome.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, I just want to say kind of right off the bat, I'm so grateful for my experience with Grays Harbor Youth Works. It was such a formative time for me, having come right out of college and sort of stepping into my career, future, whatever that was, and just, yeah, getting some really great experience and meeting some really wonderful people. So do you mind if I go ahead and share my screen? I'll see if it works.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Let's share. So are you able to see kind of a timeline?
Yes.
Great.
I see the Open Space Authority. It's a really cool infographic.
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to share this as a starting point to kind of share a little bit about my journey to the point where I am right now, and highlight kind of some of the main experiences or opportunities that kind of came along that really shaped, again, where I am at this point. And if it looks like I'm looking this way, it's because I've got two monitors, so that's why. Yeah, I graduated from high school in Northern California and went to Santa Clara University, and that's where I studied psychology, art, and environmental studies. Santa Clara, for those of you who are not familiar, is I guess a small to medium-sized school, and so there was a lot of opportunities to take different classes and study different things, and I was definitely not a student that knew what I wanted to do right off the bat, and so I was able to, yeah, have a list of different interests. And one thing I guess I would note is that both in high school and in college, I was a part of the newspaper staff, and that's really where I started to develop and enjoy graphic design and writing, and those are things that are really huge for me today in my current role. And just, even though they're not directly, I'm not on a newspaper right now, it's still really a great experience. And so once I graduated, like I said, that's when I joined Grays Harbor Youth Works for a period of time, and that was actually through an AmeriCorps volunteer program. And then once I returned to the Bay Area after that experience, I started working as a case manager for a community service agency. So doing, not as a social worker, but doing social work type work. And then transition to the current role that I'm in. And so I guess the point of all of that is the timeline is zigzagged for a reason, and it was not a linear path. And every experience that I had was really important in shaping kind of where I'm at now. And so I currently am the legislative specialist at the Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority. I included our mission, which is to conserve the natural environment, support agriculture, and connect people to nature by protecting open spaces, natural areas, and working farms and ranches for future generations. So I feel very lucky because that's a mission that I'm really passionate about. And because we are a public agency, there is a lot of overlap with just community development, community support, and it's not a one, a narrow-minded, I guess, kind of role or agency, because we are a public agency. And just to define what a special district is, because it is unique and it's not something that I was really familiar with before. I'm reading off of the Wikipedia definition, but special districts are independent, special purpose governmental units that exists separately from local governments such as county, municipal, and township governments with substantial administrative and fiscal independence, and they are formed to perform a single function or a set of related functions. And so that's just kind of important to note because we aren't part of the county, we're not part of the city, we are our own special district, and there are lots of different special districts that I didn't in the beginning realize were special districts, certain transportation or school districts or water districts, different things. And so it is kind of a unique kind of category, I guess you would say. And with that comes some kind of differences as being a staff member for a special district than for other government positions. But at the end of the day, we are, serving the public and responsible for that role. And yeah, that's kind of a high level overview. And I really was excited when I saw this job opportunity open up because it combined my passion for environmental work and then also would be kind of incorporating a lot of the different skills that I've been trying to kind of improve and work on, like writing and, analyzing legislation or, not like giving some presentations and communications and, building and maintaining relationships and different things like that. So it was just a really unique opportunity that I was excited about, but really did not have a lot of direct experience going into. But since then, what I've kind of learned and what I really appreciate about the agency is that they value individuals coming into the positions who are, exhibiting an interest and a passion for the work, and even if it's not on paper that they have that exact experience before. And I think that ultimately is beneficial for agencies, businesses, to have that perspective because, how are you going to have the exact same experience going into something every time? And so I'm really grateful that, they gave me a chance to kind of grow into some new responsibilities, and there was a big learning curve for a lot of different things, especially more specifically related to the legislative work, and really a lot of refreshers on just high school government class and remembering how, the California State Senate works and how a bill becomes law and, just all of those things. I don't think when I was in high school, I remember learning them, but it didn't quite stick as much as I wish now that it had. But I think that's just going to be for kind of any job. If it becomes your day to day, you've got to refresh on some of that, and I find it really interesting. And so, especially given kind of current events right now, there's a lot of new precedents being set with local government and state government, and there's just a lot to kind of keep up with, and it's all very interesting. And the last thing that I did want to show on my screen is a quick snapshot of our organizational chart. And so it kind of gets to the point that was being discussed earlier of just kind of there is a place for everyone in government, and my position is on the map right here. So legislative specialist is here. This is our planning department, and so this includes everyone from our GIS coordinator, so doing more of the technical mapping work on the computer, to grants and trying to find funding opportunities, to environmental education and working with adults and kids, and then our field staff. And so they're the ones that are actually at our preserves and helping with build trails and do trail maintenance. And then our administration team, finance, accounting, and then, it builds up to our management and then our board of directors. And so I think for me, I find this really encouraging because I think that there is really a place for everyone, and there is a chance to, match your skills with a profession that you are excited about and that you're passionate about. And I feel very lucky to have found that for myself. And that's not to say that, everything is perfect and, that I will be doing this exact thing for the next 50 years, but for the time being, I really, really enjoy it and really enjoy the people I'm working with, and it's been a great experience. So, yeah, I will maybe leave it at that for now.
Thanks so much for sharing, Lena. One of the things that I love is how you're from high school all the way to where you are now. You've developed all these incredible skills that you even said has helped you in this role. You started out, on the newspaper staff. You started out doing community service in the community service program, and that was at the college level, I believe.
Yeah, I started volunteering in the college level, yeah.
Yeah, and that's fabulous, because one thing I wanted to tell our students today is that if you're interested in government and public administration, you can start today. I mean, there's student council, there's debate club. I don't know if a lot of the Grays Harbor schools have an ROTC program, but students are always welcome to attend city council and local government meetings. And I'm sure some meetings similar to agencies who Lena works with. But I really love how you shared that you didn't have a specific intention to go in and go to work for Santa Clara Open Space Authority and be a legislative assistant, but it's your whole journey led you there. And as you're going through your journey, you develop skills. So I totally love that. And to our interns, I want students, we have about 5 to 10 minutes if you want to ask Lena questions before we go over to Kym. And you can always ask your questions in the chat screen. So one thing I do want to ask you, Lena, is there a lot of travel in your work? Do you have to travel to Sacramento? And tell us a little bit about the travel that you do.
Yeah, no, the travel is a really enjoyable part of this position. We're kind of in a good geographic location where Sacramento in the capital is about a 2 to 3 hour drive depending on traffic, and so it is doable for a day trip. It makes a long day, but we've been before kind of the pandemic situation. I would go maybe once a month to Sacramento, and when we go there, the day really depends, but a normal day maybe would be kind of back-to-back meetings with staff from the legislative staff. So for example, maybe like the chief of staff for the state senator, or just different individuals in the offices or in different committee staff. And usually when we go, it's for maybe a specific project we want to talk about, or piece of legislation, something like that. And besides the trips to Sacramento, we'll have meetings locally, usually not more than a 30-minute drive, maybe, just kind of within our jurisdiction, which is most of Santa Clara County. And so for the most part, the travel would be to and from Sacramento.
Oh man, that's awesome. I think Sacramento is a great town. I love California. But we have some great questions. This one comes from Cheryl. And she asks, Lena, what is a typical workday for you? What kind of duties do you perform?
Yeah, so day-to-day looks very different, and that is something that I really enjoy, because I can get not bored quickly, but I like different things. I like having multiple different tasks and projects to work on, and so I would not be able to survive without my Outlook calendar or Google Calendar, because usually a normal day will have maybe, let's say, 4 different meetings with internal staff, and maybe a couple calls with external partners, or different groups that we're a part of, half-hour calls or an hour long. And obviously we're doing everything virtually right now. But then there'll be kind of other gaps during the day where I might be working on reviewing a new piece of legislation and trying to kind of go through and highlight and outline important parts that are relevant to our agency, and then maybe, you know, email a few questions to our consultants in Sacramento. Or since I'm part of the public affairs team, we are working on a few different projects that are kind of more related to communications and community engagement. And so maybe I'll be working in it for an hour on a document, or kind of designing, helping the communications team design something. So it is kind of a mix of in-person, well, when we're back in the office, like in-person meetings, virtual meetings, and then just kind of being at my desk working on different projects.
It sounds like it's never boring.
Never boring.
That's awesome. I love that. And you get to engage with many people. Kat, our Lake Quinault intern, she asks, what do you enjoy most about your job?
I think just right off the bat, what comes to mind is just working for an organization that I care about the mission of the work, and I feel like my coworkers, similarly, they care a lot about what they're doing, and want to work hard and go the extra mile, because it's not just you know, putting out a product that we don't really care about. It's you know, trying to make an impact and serve our community. And I think even on days where I maybe go home and I'm frustrated, or I feel really tired, it's kind of like, you know, I know that I put my effort and my energy into something that I care about. And I think for me, in whatever job I'm in, you know, you definitely have to go through different experiences and different jobs that you don't feel that way about, and that's still a good experience and a good opportunity, but it really helps you learn what it is you like to do. But I would say that's probably my favorite part, of the part I enjoy most.
Oh my gosh, thanks for sharing. And I really like how you say sometimes you have to go through that experience, and you know, working in different areas and with different organizations to really find out what you like to do and where you want to do it and who you want to do it with. So I appreciate that. This is from, is it Suzanne? Am I right? Yay. And welcome, Suzanne. Now she asks you, do you have more virtual meetings than in-person meetings?
So before, when was it? Before March, when, at least in our county, we went into the shelter in place. Most of our meetings were, most of them were in person. If it's with our own team, you know, it's in person in our office. If it's with, you know, a partner agency and they're located like an hour away, it would be a phone call or like a conference call. And so it really does depend, but we try as hard as we can to have in-person meetings as much as we can, just because it's kind of a, you know, it is a different experience.
And the last question she asks is, have you always been interested in this line of work?
Nope. I have, yeah, I can just list off different things, you know, a veterinarian, a graphic designer, a painter, interior designer, you know, no, it was not a linear path at all. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, trying to find the bits and pieces from previous experiences that I liked and form that kind of into the role that I'm in now. And yeah, definitely did not start off coming out of high school thinking I wanted to be doing this specific work, but looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, it makes sense kind of how I ended up here.
I have Chris Hunt, who's one of our board members, on the line here. Chris, what question do you have for Lena?
Yeah, Lena, thanks a lot for joining us. It's nice to see you.
You too.
I was curious if you, I have two things. I was curious if you found a mentor at any point in your journey, and what effect that had on your process. And also, I'm really interested in what you talk about, believing in the mission. And I also work in local government, and I was wondering if you could comment on whether you find, how you find that affects the atmosphere at work when everyone's, you know, kind of on the same page. I know in government, I find I'm always surprised how open and helpful other agencies are, because we all sort of share that government space.
Yeah, no, thank you for both of those. I knew this was going to happen. If there's two questions, I'm like, I'll remember the first one. But the first one was about, oh, mentor. That's right.
Mentors, right.
Yes, I would not be where I am without the help of different mentors. I would say the first one that comes to mind that probably played the biggest role for me was one of my professors from Santa Clara, and he was my environmental law professor, which was a sort of a class that I took as a part of my minor, kind of interested, but wasn't, planning to maybe really go into environmental law or anything. But it was a small enough class that we really got to know the other students and the professor, and I ended up taking multiple classes with him and staying in touch after college, and he really helped introduce me to kind of different networks of people in the professional field. He connected me with the League of Conservation Voters, and just staying in touch with professors or mentors via email. And then when something comes along, whether it's a job opportunity or just a person that's worth connecting with, I wouldn't have kind of made the path that I did without his help. So really appreciate it. And just the perspective kind of, not, especially with the non-linear kind of path of just, keep taking opportunities. And then in terms of the government, yeah, I think it's a really great question. And I honestly probably don't, my experience, I'm about 8 months into my current role. And prior to this role, I've been in nonprofit settings. And so I think there is a unique part about being in a government agency that you do have this underlying connection with other agencies. And at the core of it, there is very much a community focused perspective. And I guess I have had one job that was more of just more of a business role, and I don't think that there was as much of a connection with other agencies, because it is more, every environment's going to be competitive, but I don't feel like as a government agency we're competing with one another. We're trying to work on stuff together. So
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Oh, those were great answers, Lena. I really appreciate it. And great questions from our students, from Cheryl, from Chris. Does anyone have any other questions for Lena before we turn it over to Kym? I think my one question for you, Lena, is have you ever met Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was governor?
No, have not.
You didn't get to say, I am back. No.
That would have been good, but no.
And that's one thing about positions in government and public administration is you end up meeting some very interesting people. And just like you said, Lena, you work with all sorts of stakeholders. You're working with the farmers, people in the community, businesses, other agencies like yours. So I can imagine that you meet incredibly interesting people.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so fascinating, the array of different people you get to meet, different sectors, industries, everything. So
I think it's really interesting too that the mentor you really mentioned was your environmental law professor.
mm-hmm.
And you mentioned your path was kind of winding and indirect, and that turns out to be exactly what you're doing right now. You're reviewing potential laws
Yeah.
in the environmental space. That's not a coincidence, it doesn't seem like.
Yeah, and he was really helpful because after I took the environmental law classes, I was considering law school as a path. And, law school is a huge investment, and it is very specific work being a lawyer. And I didn't really feel like I fit into that, or it didn't feel like quite a fit, but he helped me kind of figure out what I liked about that subject matter and what maybe wasn't as much of a fit. And just continued to kind of pass opportunities along and just be a source of perspective and kind of ideas.
Thank you so much for sharing, Lena, and being here today. And we definitely love to have you come back and talk to us a little bit more about what you do and or what you're going to do next. We are excited to watch your career as it unfolds.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And yeah, I'd be more than happy to stay connected or kind of email if anyone has offline questions. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
That's awesome. You heard that, students? Email.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have offline questions, you can reach out.
Yeah.
All right, thanks so much. So I would like to turn it over to Kym Foster. She is the county clerk of Grays Harbor County. And what I'm going to do is, she does not have video, so I'm going to go ahead and share screen to the Grays Harbor County Clerk's office. I hope everyone can see that. And there's a picture of Kym. Awesome. Kym, how are you today?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Oh, well, thanks for being on. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you end up at the Grays Harbor County Superior Court office?
Well, it's kind of a funny, odd story. Never in my life, I mean, almost 2 years to the day. It was May 18th. I had gone through a divorce. I was working at the WSU Extension office. I came in, I was a little frazzled. I didn't know exactly what to do and where to go. And it was before I had an attorney, and I came in, there was just something not right about the office. It kind of seemed that there may be kind of a dark cloud. They were not very nice. There weren't no eye contact, no smiles. And I left, and I felt kind of, I don't know, demoralized, or what's the word? Maybe just, I didn't feel like I had information that could help me in any way. So I ended up going to an attorney, and Elizabeth Samuel. And when I went in there, she said, "Oh gosh, I'm sorry that you had that experience." And that's kind of how it is. And I remember thinking that was just bad. That it wasn't something that I thought, oh, I'm going to go in there and change, because I had other battles. I wasn't going to pick up anything else. So when I kind of got a little more familiar with the process of having to do this, and there wasn't a lot of information from my attorney, which looking back, I think it's because every time I had a conversation with her, it cost money. And so she was just like, let me do you the job. You don't really need to know why, and let's just go through this. So there wasn't a lot of kind of experience of knowing what was happening. And so after this went on for 4 or 5 years. I mean, we're still dealing with issues in the court. And so we signed papers, and I started working for Vinny. And at the WSU office, I was working school hours, and it was great. It was what a great opportunity, working for WSU and teaching nutrition and being there when my kids wake up and being there when they get home from school. You know, it was a great opportunity. There was times where I had days off, and I like being busy. And so I started working for her and kind of learning the process of the paperwork. And I was just like, now it kind of comes all together, how all this works. And that kind of sparked a little bit of an interest. And I remember going to jury earlier in my life, thinking, wow, this was kind of a cool atmosphere. Like, the courthouse is kind of neat, and the courtroom is kind of cool. And I remember thinking that was a great thing, but my foresight was more in education and teaching and nutrition and that kind of thing. So once I got that experience with Vinny's office, I had come in one day, and she said, it was filing week, and I really had I had no clue anything political. I didn't know what a Democrat was. I didn't know what a Republican was. I seriously had, I just people and thoughts is what, I had no idea that stuff. So when she mentioned filing week, I was thinking, oh, great, I'm going to be slammed today. I get to file all day long. Their filing week is what happened in the office. She explained that, no, filing week is when everybody can come in and you can file for an office that's open. And, we need a clerk in there that can change things. And I remember just kind of focusing on what I was doing, and the other paralegal said, yeah, we need somebody who has a good personality and that can just turn that office around. And Vinny popped her head out. She goes, "We need somebody who could do it with class and dignity and style and pizzazz." And I'm kind of, yeah, sure, that's what they need. And I remember they wouldn't let me come over here because they said that they didn't want me to come back crying. They're like, "No, you can't go. You're not going to file," because they were just rude, you know. So I never had been over here as being a legal assistant or any type of, so I had no clue what, I'd been in this office one time. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, Kym, you need to run for county clerk." And I was like, no way. What's a clerk do? And she's like, "Oh my gosh, okay, you're finishing up right now and we're gonna go have coffee." And this was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and filing stopped at 4:30. And so we took a walk down to Savory Fair and we did the pros and cons. And you know, she just explained to me that there's, when you're the clerk, it's kind of like you don't really have to know what's going on in this office. You are going to be assisting everybody who knows what's going on in this office. So she had me talk with Bridget McNeely, who at the time was working at the Superior Court Administrator's Office. And I talked with Bridget, and she and I just kind of hit it off right away. And she's like, "You know, it's a really tough job, and I have no doubt that it's going to be difficult. And if you can win this election and get in there, you can make a change." And then I talked to a couple other people, and I didn't get a chance to talk to my mom. And you know, when you're making a life decision, you got to talk to your mom. And Vinny said, "No, I'm your attorney. I can't." So we walked over after having those brief conversations with a couple of friends. I came over and I dropped down the money and I ran. And as I was doing it, she said, there's that part where it says, "Are you a Republican or a Democrat?" And my grandmother was a devout Democrat. It says it on her tombstone. It says devout Democrat. She helped get the Veteran Cemetery in Nevada. She's in their Nevada history books. She's an amazing lady. And I remember her being a Democrat, and I said, "I think I'm a Democrat," because I remember her beliefs, and those 60s Democrats are amazing people. And then he said, "Oh yeah, you're definitely a Democrat." So I clicked on there, I was a Democrat, and then took the picture and started the journey, and really, truly never looked back. I mean, once I got that kind of spark and learning that I wasn't the only person who had issues. A lot of people came forward and gave me their problems. And I didn't, you know, learning at the time that I filed, I was in the criminal justice program at the college trying to get my business management degree. And so I had a little bit of knowledge. At least I knew that the clerk was from the executive branch, and I could kind of work my way in figuring out what the clerk does. And during the campaign, it's terrible. I mean, it's just not fun having to go face to face against somebody and you're just working. This is an interview for the job that lasts for 6 months, and you know, you're just not sitting in there having your conversation. Your constituents are the ones that have to vote you in, and trying to convince everybody that I could do it with zero type of experience. That was really tough. I mean, I just had to sell it on my charming personality, you know. And so yeah, once I got in here, I walked into the office. There was a school desk and 2 lawn chairs, and that was it. And there's no handing over of the financials. There's no, you know, do a heck of a job, way to go. It was just dropped in. And I made my choice to pick as my there's chief deputy. The chief deputy is my right-hand guy or gal. And Bridget from the Grace Harbor, the Superior Court admin, I knew that she and I would be the ones, that she could help me with this, because she knew the process. She knew the paperwork process. She had worked in the clerk's office 15 years prior. I mean, just a long time. Wasn't anything that was going to kind of cloud the current kind of morale. So once I picked her and we jumped in, I've learned so much. We we do a lot of filing, obviously. The main job for the clerk is the keeper of the record. And we have, you know, from 1800s, we have paperwork. And it's a lot. And we can't destroy anything. If we have electronic copies, we can destroy stuff, but it's really difficult to kind of take that commitment into destroying any type of records. And I learned a lot. I've learned that my staff knows their job, and they know it really well. Like, these guys, Julie Wade, our core facilitator, she's been here 23 years. She knows what she's doing. And our juvenile clerk down at the Juvie Center, she's been here 24 years. And so these guys, collectively, we have a lot of experience. And so it's my job to support them and really fight for what they need and what they have been wanting. They want more duties. They want to have the ability to make a choice, you know, and voice their opinions on things that could change. I was brand new, you know. They could come in here and tell me, you know, normally we have a giraffe sitting in that corner. I'd be like, cool, I like giraffes. It's like, I'm brand new. You guys can tell me anything you want. And you know, if it doesn't work, let's try it for 2 weeks. If it doesn't work, hey, we reserve the right to be wrong, you know. So I think they appreciated being able to kind of voice their opinion and change things up. And yeah, there's been a couple things that's like, ooh, wow, that was a bad choice. Well, at least we got to try that out and, you know, go back to where we were or find something different, you know. But we get a lot of divorces, and we get a lot of probate and protection orders. That's the thing. 7 different types of protection orders, and they're not all called restraining orders. You know, so that was a big learning process there. Child custody and the juvenile issues with dependency and truancy, and we have the criminal stuff. You know, we've had on Mondays we have our docket day, is what it's called, and we get 400 to 500 people through the courthouse on a normal Monday. And so, you know, now it's just, oh, so crazy with this whole COVID thing going on that the courthouse is closed and Mondays are quiet. That's odd. And our criminal docket, we could get up to 178 hearings in one day, where we're seeing people throughout the whole day. So the criminal docket is, and the criminal cases are really a lot here in Grace Harbor. We also have probate, and now we have a new mental health court. So we have 5 courtrooms that could potentially be running at one time. The 2 upstairs are the 2 big courtrooms that people are most common with. And then we have a smaller courtroom on the 2nd floor near the district court where they do the traffic tickets and such. And then we have the juvenile court, and then we have the mental health court. So we have 9, not including myself and Bridget, we have 8 courtroom clerks. And the courtroom clerks are actually 7, 6, 5 that are on daily in a courtroom when we're normal functions. The others, we have a jury clerk and an assistant, and then we have our records clerk who does all the requests and does the phones and the mail. And then we have, we hired the first male clerk, and he likes to be the organizer of things, which is pretty great for us. He's got the filing system down amazing, and bumped up our scanning to the files. RCW say they have to be done within 5 days. When I came into the office, we were scanning from 3 months prior. So they were really, really behind, and it was against RCW. But Taylor Sample has us going about 2 to 3 days, where things are being put into the files and they're accessible electronically, which is pretty awesome. And then the courtroom clerks, you know, it's pretty interesting how they go in, they sit, they listen, they document. they're not the court reporter. The court reporter is the one that's doing the word by word, but the clerk is taking in evidence and any type of documents that need to go into the file, and we make minutes that are helpful for the attorneys if they don't catch some big words that the judge says. You know, we try to capture that on paper, and then they come down and they have to do their minutes. So the courtroom clerks, they have a really big chunk of time where they're doing their cases and then also coming back and having to finish those up and get those minutes into their files. And then Bridget, she's the chief deputy clerk. So we have myself and then the chief deputy clerk, and then the rest are called deputy clerks. And so Bridget does a lot of helping with scheduling with the court administrator. We have a new court administrator, so I'm super glad she's able to understand where he is and understand his needs and help him. And she's, thank goodness for her, she's kind of the backbone of the clerk's office. And she's really good about foreseeing things that are happening, that's going to be happening soon. Yeah, a lot of times she'll catch a case, and the case it'll be noted, but the attorneys haven't done anything. It'll be noted that there's going to be a hearing soon. She'll catch it and get a hold of the attorney. So she's really good about the stuff that I would miss, because I'm learning, but she's got that down. And the stuff with helping out the police departments with doing their search warrants and such. She's amazing. She does all the scheduling and payroll, and with this COVID thing, it's been really tough for her. But yeah, it's pretty amazing what she can do. And so my role is supporting the office. I do the financial and the budget. Something that's really kind of sparked me this year was going up and lobbying. We have these House bills and these Senate bills that are coming through that really affect the office and the outcome of funding that's going to cost our taxpayers. So that kind of has been super interesting to me. We had a couple bills that, if it went through, it's gonna cost. I mean, one of them did not get pushed through, and I think we're gonna have to wait till next session. But the bill was about my bond. If I have to have a bond, all of the elected officials do, so that if somebody tries to sue us, then we're covered. Well, this House bill that they had, there was a back loop where if I didn't get an additional bond, I could be fired out of the position. Which shouldn't happen if I'm an elected official. Once you're elected, there's the RCWs that protect you. But in this bill, kind of had that loop. So that was kind of interesting, learning how to go to the Capitol building, learning the process of being able to testify against that bill, and how to get through to the Congress and legislative assistance, and being able to learn that is super interesting. The political part is pretty interesting. I advocate for my staff by talking to the commissioners. That there was not a lot of open communication within the other agencies in Grace Harbor with the clerk's office, because there was just set ways. And I don't discredit what my predecessor has done, really, truly. There were things that could change. It just took a lot of effort, and I think that once you get to a certain point, it's just like, man, I'm done. But I came in, new blood, new energy. So when I was able to go to the commissioners and fight for new staff and got extra staffing, fought for a wider or more money for supplies to be able to get the clerk standing desks, those little things is what I get to jump into. And that's the kind of stuff I kind of like, being able to make people happy. Having clients come in and knowing the answer, that's so cool. Before, it would be, when I first came in, I didn't know I didn't know where the pens were, you know, so it's been a great process, and learning how to do this, and, you know, from the very beginning, this first year has been pretty amazing. I couldn't imagine coming into office this year and having to deal with COVID, how crazy that would have been. So I'm glad to have been here a year first, since, you know, then having this stay-at-home order thing happening. So, boy, I sure talked a lot. I was trying to hit all my notes here. I think I hit them all.
So your work at the clerk's office, it sounds like it's really challenging, but there's a lot of variety. It's very robust. We do have some questions for you. So how long did you say you have been in the clerk's position?
I was just sworn into office January of 2019. So it's just been a year and 5 months.
That's incredible. The person also asked if you hired Josh Seti out of Pacific County.
So my I always say Grace Harbor. The court administrator's office is with the judiciary branch. So they are ran by the presiding judge. So Judge Edwards, Judge Mistashkin, and Judge Brown are the ones that interviewed for the court administrator. So Josh, we absolutely love this guy. He came out of Pacific County, and when the position was open, there were like 3 or 4 attorneys that would come in and gossipy, and they're like, you know who they should hire is that Josh Seti guy from down there. So when we heard he was coming in, I was just elated, and he's amazing. He's taken on, and you know, this poor guy, he was dumped in it in February, and then we shut down. So, and then all of a sudden he has to learn how to start Zoom meetings with 150 clients. I mean, this guy is just, yeah. So my, here I hire the clerks, and then, so there's nobody, I don't like saying that I don't have a boss. My boss is my constituents and the people who voted me in. And if there's a complaint about me, it's a reflection of who voted me in. And you know, there was 13,000 people who didn't vote for me. There was 14,000 who did, but 13,000 who did. I got to prove to those 13,000 I can do this. So yeah, my bosses are the residents of Grace Harbor. So I don't get to hire anybody outside of my office.
Was it hard running for county clerk? And this is a question from one of our interns out of Hoquiam High School.
It was, hi Ellie, are you Ben's daughter? I think she is. Is she? Yeah. Yeah, Ben is, oh God, that guy, he supported me through this whole thing. He's the one that put the bug in my ear about e-filing. And so when we talked in the very beginning of this, he was like, you know, e-filing. So next week, I get to implement e-filing. It's been something that's been in the works for the last 8 months, and it's been, wow, what a pest that has been. But Ben's the first one on my list to tell him that I got it. So I'm pretty excited to that. So no, I haven't answered it yet. So it was difficult running for a position I didn't know about. Because I would just, you know, it's like when I was having interviews or doing forums, I would have to go with what was being taught to me. So I would do like an analogy, like a football team. I'm going to be the coach, and I'm not going to really carry the ball. I'm not going to throw the ball, but I'm going to get the plays, and we're going to make it great, you know. And it kind of, I felt like I didn't know a lot about it. So it was really difficult running for clerk. I mean, I had no idea what it entailed. But I could not show that. Really, truly, it's like, I am confident I can do this job. And I knew I could. I just needed to get in here and prove it first. Now I love it. I can't see myself doing anything different. I want to retire from this. You know, this is great. Yeah.
What I love is how you saw something that you believed needed to be changed. And then you were empowered, even though you didn't know exactly what the job entailed, you just went for it. And you had a support system around you that supported you through that process. I think that's so key as we are citizens. You know, we don't have to sit on the sidelines. The last thing we should do is sit on the sidelines. If we see something, we should say something or work to change it. And
Absolutely.
but yeah, a really quick one of our. Oh, go ahead.
Well, once I got to where it was like, okay, now this is going to be the change. Oh crap, what am I going to do? I got voted in. Oh no, but when I went to these meetings, I would go to the Democratic meetings, and I met these people, and they're like, oh, we'll support you. Here's money for signs. It's like, you don't know me. Yes, I do. I mean, we've had this conversation. We've talked. I think you could do this, and having that, okay, somebody else sees it. Okay. Vinny has been, somebody asked if I have my mentor. Vinny Samuel, the mayor of Montesano and my attorney, she has mentored me throughout this whole time. She has talked me off of many edges and probably wanted to push me a couple times. But when there was that time when I was in her office, and during the divorce, and she kind of, I want to say she kind of literally took my shoulders and shook me and said, you need to decide what you're going to do. This can't continue. And she's the one that got me into college and was like, you have to do something. You cannot keep doing this route. And so once we got into the election part, she was like, oh, you've got this. You can do this. There's no problem. Yeah, the support system was amazing. Thank goodness for all of them. Even the staff here in the clerk's office that wanted to change, they would call me and give me ideas and help out. And yeah, it was pretty amazing.
I really appreciate your answering Susanna's questions too about if she had a mentor as you entered this profession. So it sounds like you had a lot of people to mentor you and to help you through the process.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank goodness. I don't know what I could have done without the support. I'd probably still be sitting in the corner crying, rocking back and forth.
It's really interesting because when I think about careers in government and politics and public administration, I feel like that whole area is basically a support for our society. Without these careers, without institutions, without regulations and laws, I don't think we would be a democracy, or we'd have security for that on that level. So as you go about being in the government and being in this sector, what are some of your takeaways so far? Obviously, you didn't know anything before about politics, but what do you know now? What are some of the takeaways that you have gained over the last year and a half?
Well, I think there's a really shady part to it. I didn't realize how much so. There's just those times where somebody would come and say, hey, I supported you, during your campaign. Aren't you going to scratch my back too? And it's like, well, wait, that's not what I stand for. I'm not that kind of, I'm not a politician that way. I'm for the people. And if it's not going to be something that benefits my constituents and the people who voted me, I can't do that, and there's kind of that. And I think that the diversity of having somebody that has never been into politics, I think that it kind of opens the eyes of the people around me who have been, because when somebody comes in and says, I need to file for divorce, and the response would be, well, do you have your paperwork? Well, no, where do I get paperwork? For me, I'm like, dude, I totally hear where you're coming from. I had no clue. Here's a website, and here, let me take you over to the chair and set you down, and let's look through it, and I'll help you through it. I can't give you advice, but I can give you some options. And I think that somebody who's a layperson that's never done it before can kind of see the questions and understand the questions and not be kind of put off by having to help, I guess. I think that I've learned to be a lot more compassionate. I think that, I feel I was a pretty compassionate person, but God, these people come in with some pretty crappy things happening to them, and if they're coming in, it's probably not because, you know, it's a good thing. And I think that we've all learned that, you know, somebody comes in with an attitude, probably because they've had a crappy day, and it can't be quite as bad as mine. You know, I have a job and I'm here every day. You know, these guys are coming in and they're trying to get protection because their boyfriend's showing up outside their door with a knife. You know, there are things that could be a lot worse. I think we've all learned to have a little more compassion. Patience is another thing. I totally have learned a lot about what I can say to my kids now. You know, do you want to end up in juvie? I know some things that happen that you guys are just going to end up in juvie. You know, like, you do that, here's what you're going to end up having to do. Here's your time. You know, my kids have, and, you know, my kids have, they're older. Declan and Jace are twins who are 15. They were in their freshman year. And then I have a 19-year-old Blake who just graduated last year, who graduated with his AA this month. And yeah, they're hearing I know the legal process now, so you can't fool me. Yeah.
Well, we have time for one more question, and this one is Kat, and she asks, were there ever a point in your careers right now as the county clerk, was there ever a point where you didn't want to do the job, or where you were really scared or stressed out about it?
There wasn't a time that I didn't want to do it. There was a time, really, I've been threatened, and the threatening part, it was, you know, without going into a lot of details, it was somebody who is authoritative. And so to have a threat, you know, it's like, oh, geez. Now, you know, having a threat and being scared and intimidated and kind of pushed around, it kind of taught me, this is what I'm here for. You can't do that. You can't do that to me. If you're doing it to me, who else are you doing that to? You know, so I don't think I wanted to quit. I cried a lot, but I think it kind of fueled me into fighting even harder. Because if you're saying and degrading and saying those kind of things to me, who is, you know, kind of a peer, what are you saying to the people who are working for you? You know, that's not okay. So I don't think I ever wanted to quit. I kind of, you know, the more somebody tells me I can't do something, or that, that just really gets me. You know, you try to push me down, oh, I'm going to get up twice as hard. You know, and I'm coming at you, you know, but I can't predict the future, but I don't think I'll ever want to quit. I don't, you know, not do my job. Yeah, there are times where I've slept in, you know, but not yet.
I was going to mention that when you described some of the staff that you work for, how many of them have over, you know, 2 decades in the career. I was thinking, like, a lot of these jobs in government and public administration, they have a lot of longevity. So it seems like that could be related to some of the benefits that you might get, working with other people, that could be a benefit. But it seems like people who, you know, work in Montesano, for instance, they work there, they stay there. They don't really.
Yeah, the union benefits are great. The county benefits are amazing. You know, they all have great eyeglasses. Everybody's got pretty teeth. You know, they've got really great dental and vision. And you know, we've had 2 people come through the office. They just didn't like it. You know, and I don't feel like we have like a revolving door. But you know, when you come in here, and yeah, we do a lot of filing, and we do a lot of people don't want to sit through court while there's a child molestation case going on. I mean, that's really, you know, they come down from court and they are exhausted mentally. They've had to hear details that you don't want to hear. And you've had to take notes, and you have to have eye contact with these people. And you see them in the community, you know who they are. And so, you know, that can be exhausting. And that can be pretty kind of tolling on a person's, their inner core. So, you know, we've had a couple people that came in for a little bit and they were like, Kimmy, I can't do it. You know, it's too much, you know, or I've got a better opportunity. You know, I think that the staff we have now God, we all just click. In this thing where we don't get to hug, I didn't realize what a huggy group of women and guys we have here. But, you know, like they'll say something and it's like, oh, I want to hug you. It's like, oh, I love that. It's like seeing your kids play. You know, it's like, oh, you guys are getting along. You're not wanting to trip each other and pull hair. I love this. You know, so I think right now we have a great group of people who are passionate about what they do, and they're all doing it just amazing. So it's been really rewarding on that end.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing, Kym. This has been phenomenal with having Lena and Kym join us to tell us more about their experiences in government and public administration. And to our interns and students, I hope that you consider that this is another great career field where there is a variety of jobs that you can do that use a variety of skills that you have. And that includes running for office. It includes making a change, just like Lena is doing with the Santa Clara Open Space Authority and protecting open spaces, and Kym, what she's doing as the county clerk, and making sure that people have justice and access to justice in a fair and compassionate manner. And these are just people like you who decided, hey, I am going to step up and be a part of social change and be a part of my community. And that's what's so cool about exploring your career, because yes, believe it or not, you can change the world. And you just heard from two fabulous people who are telling you, you can explore your career, you can have fun, but you can make great changes in your community, long-lasting changes. So I'm going to turn this over to Cheryl to wrap up the meeting, but thank you so much, Lena and Kym, for being on.
Once again, Felicia, great viewing with our guest speakers. Lena, thank you for reaching out to us and wanting to speak on our group series. That was so rewarding to have you do that to us, or for us, I should say. And Kym, excuse me, congratulations on everything that you endured. And I think you have awesome intestinal fortitude to make, you saw something that needed to be changed and you took it upon yourself, and you're making that change. So thank you for being that woman. Thank you for fighting your way. Thank God you had an awesome support group and to get where you're at. And the information you provided today was so very, very interesting and very educational for me. So thank you so much. And we just want to thank you. And then next week, we're going to be on medical and health sciences. And Felicia, you can go ahead and finish up with our students. And thank you again, Kym and Lena. Thank you for being with us today.